From canvas to stage, Queens native Danny Simmons is an artist, activist, producer, gallerist, and philanthropist, plus a poet and author. He created the hit HBO show Def Poetry Jam, and now he's bringing poetry and more to the Greenwood Cemetery. And Danny joins us now. Hi.
Hey, good morning, Stephanie. How are you?
I'm great, Danny. So good to be with you today.
Yeah, it's wonderful, wonderful. Looking forward to this talk. I haven't seen you in a while.
It's been a while, Danny, so we're going to talk about a lot of things. Let's start with this event. It's this Thursday. It's called From Canvas to Stage, a tribute to Basquiat. So tell me what this night's going to be like.
We're going to hear from several different poets, two bands. We're going to project art as background music. Shrine for the Black Madonna, my buddy Brian Tate and Neoka Workman, and Five Fiery Strings are the bands. And poets are going to work with the bands and just move into the production. We have 6 different artists, so the art's going to be rotating all the time, and it's going to be an amazing collaboration of art, poetry, and music up on the stage at Greenwood.
So how did you originally evolve to do poetry with music?
You know, I was on the board of a band way back when. This was about 2000, and I did something called Deaf Poetry Plugged In, and it was right at the height of deaf poetry. And what I wanted to do was add music to the mix, and so we did it with Vernon Reed and Sonia Sanchez on the main stage. Then over the years, I personally would perform with music. Actually have a CD out with Ron Carter called the Brown Beatnik Tomes. And I just thought that, you know, it would be a great thing to do this larger on the stage with a bunch of poets, not just me. But so we tried it last year, called it WordSmith, and we brought it to Newark Symphony Hall, and it was a great hit. So I talked to my buddy Richard Moylan, who's the director at Greenwood, told him about it, and he loved the idea. So here we are, a week from it.
All right, so you also told me that you like to have music under your performance because it made you less nervous when you did poetry.
That's true. When I first started reading my own poetry, I used to be nervous. I wasn't a performance poet like the poets on Deaf Poetry, but I was being asked to read poetry all the time. And so I would have drummers or jazz musicians behind me. And one of the first was Ron Carter. And we were promoting the book. And we did it at Brick, and Blue Note Records loved it. And so I said, I'm going to run with this idea. And we've been doing it, you know, on and off, not under the name of Wordsmith, but just doing music and poetry for the last 10 years.
Amazing.
And then we decided to brand it.
All right, so tell me why Basquiat? Why did you want to do this surrounding the late artist?
His spirit, really, quite frankly, his spirit of forging ahead and doing things on their own, not being traditional, and the fact that he was from Brooklyn and moved out into the larger art world fearlessly, it was a great inspiration to me. And so, you know, and he's buried at Greenwood Cemetery, which was, you know, so when I decided to do it at Greenwood, the New York City version of this, it was just a natural thing to use Basquiat as the focal point for people, not that they're creating poems and music about Basquiat, but they're doing it in the spirit in which he created his art.
Yeah. And you also had some challenges earlier in your life, and you were inspired by his story.
You know, a lot of, you know, earlier on, you know, Basquiat died of a drug overdose. And, you know, in my early ages, I used. And so, I mean, there was a connection there to understanding, you know, creativity and the use of drugs. And throughout history, you know, you see how you have a lot of creative people being on drugs. Billie Holiday, a lot of creative people use drugs. And it was unfortunate that what happened with Basquiat, that he wasn't able to escape before it caught him. With me, I've been clean for 30 years, but I still understand the struggle that people go through. I was a substance abuse counselor for many years. So, you know, he's an inspiration. His art and his life was inspirational to me and a lot of artists.
Yeah. And you told me one of the people who helped you get clean was your brother, Russell Simmons. You have
Oh, yeah.
two brothers that you're very close with, Russell Simmons and Reverend Run. The three of you have each forged your own path in arts and entertainment. Are you still close?
Oh, I talk to Russell and Run not every day, but at least 2-3 times a week. Russell, we got a 12-hour difference because he's in Bali, but we managed to catch up. He calls me at 5:30 in the morning. It's 5:30 in the evening for him. I'm like, Russell, it's too early. But anyway, I was just at Run's daughter's 16th birthday party, and I saw his last concert at Yankee Stadium where Run DMC, has retired performing. And so, I talk to Run and Russell all the time. I mean, we're the same kids that we were when we were little.
Yeah, that's so great. And lastly, I want to ask you because, all of this comes from originally, your idea for deaf poetry. It was a TV show, then it went to Broadway. Might there be some sort of reunion or comeback?
Well, I do a deaf poetry reunion off and on all the time, and opportunity to revive the poets and bring them back on stage. And the poets all working independently, but to bring them all back together on a deaf poetry reunion is something I do every once in a while. So, that's still in play all the time.
And of course, I also want to mention that you and your two brothers founded Rush Philanthropic. It gives back to kids in the arts. You do so much. When we met 20 years ago, you had created a unique event where artists switched to different galleries throughout Brooklyn. You've been doing amazing, amazing work ever since, and I enjoy following your career. So I highly want to recommend people check this out at Greenwood Cemetery. It's this Thursday. It's called From Canvas to Stage, a tribute to Basquiat. Danny, I want to thank you so much for spending time with us.
It's so good to see you again, Stephanie. I hope I see you over there at Greenwood.
I hope so.
We're going to have a lot of fun on that stage.
I think so. Thanks, Danny.
All right. Take care. Bye-bye.